Do y'all like yoga? Me neither. That's why I do not understand why Netflix keeps trying to give me these flexible ass plots to try and hold on to. And you might be saying, Prof, that might be a bit of a stretch. Well, I'm limber. Let's get into it. What is poppin', boys and girls? Appreciate you pulling up. We got a lot to unpack today. It's Prof here. So I just resubscribed to Netflix since I can no longer password share, and that's a different story altogether. But Missing was in the top 10 movies at the time with Ava Zaria Lee and Nia Long. And if you didn't know who Nia Long was,
hi you guys.
Hey. Now you know. No, I don't know who Storm Reed is. I have a soul. I haven't seen Euphoria. And it's a direct sequel to Searching, which I actually recommended in my run video. If you haven't seen it, take the time, it's really good. But the difference is, both of the latter mentioned movies directed by Anish Changati, and you can tell. I know he was a part of the writing staff, but I just think most of where the movie goes off the rails is in its direction. And a lot of people seem to like it, and I just don't get it. Let's just get into it. Leave a like if you do, and if you do, hit that subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. And if it wasn't obvious, spoilers.
Hands up, ready, I need all that. Ready, throw it in the bag. I need all that.
Yeah, this guy has a vision.
We're home recording. We start off the movie. We get to meet our family, daughter June, father James, and mother Grace, as we see James has a nosebleed, and it zooms out to what is obviously Grace's computer with files in a computer folder called James's Medical about brain tumors and how to help a child process grief. So I don't even know why I introduced James. The fact that everything is taking place on the screen sets the tone of the movie right away. Even though I am not a fan of this style, it just gives me Unfriended flashbacks, which
Unfriended is a shitty movie.
is obviously not a good thing. I'm not sure who's vain enough to leave photo booth on and looking at themselves all day, but I don't know. And if you say that's to keep up the format of the movie, then I would say that we're 2 minutes in and it's already impractical. So we join older June at her computer, and her friends need money for extracurriculars, obviously. Right before she has a chance to ask for it, June gets a FaceTime from her mom, Grace, and
call June. Oh my gosh.
Mom?
Siri, please call
Mom,
June.
you're already on the phone. This is FaceTime.
because you know nobody over the age of 40 knows how to use an iPhone. Right? I didn't even edit that zoom in. They knew what they were doing. Grace is going to Columbia, and she's given her friend/lawyer Heather a key to check on June. Insisting that she's 18 and she's grown, but begging for money at the same time is crazy.
Mom,
June,
I don't
she's
need
there to
Heather.
help you
I am
with whatever
18.
you need.
I don't need a babysitter.
When June's mom tells her to write down instructions, she pretends to type it out, and she types nonsense, which honestly made me laugh because that's the most we're gonna get in terms of believability over the next 2 hours. Oh yeah, this movie's 2 hours. She gets money for
Emergencies.
They even drop her villain music. Oh my fucking god.
Emergencies.
How am I supposed to like her? Drops $120. On what? You gotta fund all the booze and the house, and they blowing you up like this? These are not your friends. So we meet Grace's boyfriend, Kevin, and they just keep zooming in with the webcam, and it just keeps making the movie grainy as hell. I understand the format, it's already impractical. But why not just keep the clear wide shot? I see him much less clearly when you zoom in. It keeps happening too throughout the whole movie, and I just think it takes away from the experience that they're trying to give you. Kevin gets interrupted while trying to have a heartfelt moment with June about being the new guy, and it's so awkward.
What's going on?
No, June.
Do you want to take the bags down?
Takes 30 seconds to wheel. Okay, all right, I'll see you out there.
June then sends a snap to everyone in her contact list that her mom is gone. Everyone? Even though Heather is supposed to be June's chaperone, we get a montage of her clearly not being any kind of supervised and flying through her money. June gets emotional during Father's Day because she obviously misses her dad and gets way too drunk at her own party, which is rule number 2 at throwing your own party. What's number 1? If you hit that bell right underneath me, it's a new video coming soon. June wakes up the next day late to pick up her mom from the airport, and the house is a mess. Her friend acts all worried but clearly left her hanging with all the house duty and let her oversleep. Gotta love friends.
How many of us have them?
Oh, by the way, who keeps photo booth on after being so drunk you were throwing up and sleeping on the couch at your own party? Before heading out to the airport, June uses TaskRabbit and spends a big chunk of her money to get the house clean. So then June waits at the airport holding the sign for far too long. I just noticed that's the contact picture for your mom. That is pretty fucked up. I dislike June more and more as the runtime goes on, and it only gets worse. Also, I know that if somebody tries to FaceTime you while your phone is off, This isn't how it rings, and if you think that I'm nitpicking, you must be new here. But if you're gonna stick with this format for the movie, at least have it be accurate. It's already impractical. So obviously worried, June calls the hotel that Grace was at and has to use a translator because nobody speaks English at the resort. If you've ever been to a tourist destination, plenty of people usually speak English, especially at the resorts and things like that, because a lot of travelers speak English. So I'm pretty sure it's just to force this interaction on the computer screen and just pad the runtime. Did I mention this movie is 2 hours? June finds out that Grace and Kevin left everything at the resort and that the security footage overrides every 48 hours. And I just feel like there's so many things wrong with that, like having security cameras that override in a tourist destination with some of the most violent cartel clans in the world, but the hotel also can't send the footage to June and it must be received in person, so we're nowhere else to turn. June calls Heather and they get a report to file for June when the US Embassy opens in the morning. So after getting nowhere fast with the FBI at the embassy, June takes matters into her own hands and uses the Colombian version of TaskRabbit and hires Javier to go get the footage, who reluctantly accepts. June then enlists the help of her friend Vina to finally be of some help and pretend to be Kevin on the phone.
November 10th, 1980.
The girls actually get access to Kevin's account by verifying all of his information from social media, which is kind of scary, having all your information out there. That's why I'm proud to announce the sponsor of today's video.
Yeah, I did it again.
Someday. Javier calls back saying that the footage has been erased already, but he spoke to a cleaning lady he knows, and she saw Kevin and Grace going to a hardware store. So with Javier on the case, for $8 an hour, June and Vina are back going through Kevin's emails. The girls check Kevin's block list, and oh my god, if you've ever seen a red flag, this is crimson. 27 blocked users? Bruh. Looking into the conversation, Kevin has taken all of these women's money after scamming them out of everything, gone by different names, the works. Further stooping finds out that Kevin was sent to jail and paid his societal debt for his crimes, and according to the FBI, has turned a new leaf. Kevin was even meeting with this guy Jimmy, who is a part of a church group that helps rehabilitate inmates. Even snooping through the conversation between Grace and Kevin, June only discovers that Kevin was being a good guy, and he was honest about his record from the beginning. Javier finds out at the store that Kevin purchased a lock to place on the famous Lovelock Bridge in Colombia. June is then able to track them via a live stream service and able to see that after Grace places the lock on the bridge, Kevin proposes. Grace accepts, and immediately after, they get abducted. Javier is listening to June while she's having a pity party about being an obnoxious teenager, and he gives her some sound advice.
And whatever you are beating yourself over with your mom, doesn't change a parent's love.
Can we give it up for Javier, the most redeemable person in the movie? Upon closer examination of everything, it appears that Kevin has applied the switcheroo.
Regarding the whereabouts of Miss Allen, who we now believe never left Los Angeles.
Even worse, if June would have even paid the slightest bit of attention, she could have prevented all of this on day one. Boom. Movie over. I know the movie has to movie, but she just does so many unlikable things. Like, I'm just waiting for the movie to end at this point. So it turns out Kevin actually paid acting students to fake kidnap him and pretend Grace, and there's still an hour left of this movie. So behind a court order seal is Grace has changed her name, and I mean, he says it best.
I mean, 0 known family members other than the daughter? That's hella sus.
Also, Heather is Grace's lawyer. I don't know why she wouldn't tell June what's going on when it's obviously such a serious situation, and she clearly knows more than she's letting on. So June goes on an internet rampage, downvoting things on Reddit, reporting comments, clearly in denial, even turning away her best friend when she just asks valid questions, like why does June not have any other family? Why does Grace not talk about her past?
You should just go.
Okay. June finds out that Kevin was using an app that deletes your messages over time, but can't get in because the password isn't the same. So without any hesitation, she changes the password and finds out that Heather has been in contact with Kevin. Combined with lying to June about Grace changing her name just to make Heather a suspect to the audience, but do we ever find out why Kevin and Heather are in contact? So June goes to make the terrible decision to go and confront the situation head on, unarmed and alone, and Javier once again has to give her some sound advice.
Just because someone is a parent, it doesn't mean they do not make mistakes.
But June just keeps being an angsty teen and spits in the face of a person who's gone out of his way to help her multiple times, literally from another continent, and we know she's been out of money since the first time she hired him. Damn, girl, look at them big ass nostrils. You putting out the fires in Canada with them bitches. God damn.
I guess you would know, huh? Maybe you gave up on your son, but I'm not giving up on my mom.
I don't even know why I'd be rooting for you at this point. June goes to Heather's office to confront her and finds Heather's computer being erased. So now it's looking like Heather is looking mighty guilty. Nah, she's dead. Deadass. Heather was just trying to protect June and paid the ultimate price for doing so. According to the police, June was there minutes after whoever took her life, so the only thing that we have to take from this scene is that Javier was right. Again. So even though that there are officers posted outside of June's house, they just leave for some reason, both squad cars, without any explanation other than to advance the plot. Yeah, but the cop said it was okay that Vina was coming over. They would not leave an unsecure witness. We have another drawn out scene of Grace doing this Siri thing again while June listens to her voicemails from Grace. But while listening to the voicemails, it tips June's off about a potential password for her mom. Now, even though that she's been at this computer non-stop and has guessed her own name, you would have think that she would have guessed her nickname. In Grace's email, June finds receipts for a security camera, and after changing the password for the login again, she logs in to see that it's cameras at her childhood home. Then quite literally, out of nowhere, do you remember Jimmy the church guy that I mentioned very briefly? Guess who? So, I don't even know why I introduced James.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Oh my god. Part about James being a part of the Grace disappearing act is such a cop-out, but I'll get to that in just a minute. The webcam zoom during the dad reveal? Why? It takes me completely out of the scene. Use the smartwatch angle at least so I can see what's going on, because I would like to see, because that's why I'm watching a movie. Thanks. Impractical. Someone got paid a lot of money to make this creative decision and it just blows my mind. Now, am I saying that I could direct Missing 2 better? Yes. But hey, at least the cat remembers him. I just want to acknowledge June's terrible decision-making skills. She gets confrontational at the worst moment possible.
Where is she?
Dealing with a violent felon who you suspect is the cause of the issue of your mom's disappearance. Also, we know June stays on her computer all the time, since she's so tech-savvy. You mean to tell me June never looked anything up about her dad? Never tried to find any history of him? That's so weird that she wouldn't look for an obituary or ask why they don't visit where he's buried. Why doesn't she question that she doesn't have any family on her dad's side to reach out to her? Surely they would bond over the loss, right? It just doesn't make any sense. You have this convoluted ass story just to try and put it together for this gotcha moment, and it's just so frustrating. Because yeah, it's a twist that you didn't see coming. That's for sure. But when you obfuscate the movie to such a degree that you can't see the twist coming, it just comes across as lazy. Take a movie like The Sixth Sense, for example. When the twist is revealed, it's jarring and it catches you off guard. But if you're paying attention or go back for a second watch, clues are littered throughout the entire runtime about what's really going on and how they juxtapose the A and B plot so perfectly. It just makes sense. And if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, you are welcome. So James was locked up because of Grace and served time in the same jail as Kevin. And it turns out that James was actually the Uber driver, and when June scrambles to answer her only hope of a rescue call from Vina, she accidentally hits ignore. We just randomly switched to Grace's POV from the beginning of the movie, giving us a more clear picture of what happened between her and James. He was an abuser and a drug user and kept it within reach of young June, so Grace dumped him out to the police and put him away for 10 years in prison. To be honest, I can't get over how disappointed I am at the twist here. Grace should have just been honest with June about her father being in jail instead of traumatizing her about having a dead father that she only remembers lovingly. We saw what happened on Father's Day. It clearly affects June. She's 18 years old. That ship should have sailed long ago, especially if the movie has beat me over the head with how overprotective that Grace is. It's so out of character, it's just baffling. She has literally edited videos of James for June to watch and remember their family lovingly. You basically just gave the viewer the finger without even spitting on it first. Anyway, James loads his gun and goes out to the shed where Grace is being held. He gets in way too close and Grace bonks him on the head and makes a break for it after locking him inside the shed. Sarah begins to untie June. Let's hug him. Can you please move? Hey, he's coming. He has a gun. Move faster. Who didn't see that coming? They also act like this door with a handle lock is a huge barrier. Break the handle. Unscrew the hinges. You have options. There's stuff everywhere in that room. But no, June just politely moves the chair so we can see clearly for the next scene. June opts to use the smartwatch after connecting to James's iPhone. Do y'all keep your hotspot on all the time for other people to connect to it? Asking for a friend. But anyway, the only person she can call is the GOAT. Javier. Of course doesn't want to answer because June was being a total bitch to him the last time that they spoke. He eventually answers, and right before she's able to explain how to help, the watch dies. But James has realized that June has made a call and comes back and pops a round into Grace's gut because June's not cooperating with him. James then wrestles June down to the ground, but Grace takes the opportunity of grabbing a piece of shattered glass to jab James in the neck before falling unconscious. James locks June in the room with her dying mom and a shard of glass in his neck while he tries to look up hospitals in the area and falls short. James has lived at that house for a long time, and he was living there also after getting out of jail. You would think he would know where the hospital is. June tries to apologize about being a bratty teenager, but it dawns on her because of the mom Siri thing that they've been repeating the whole movie, to use Siri to call 911. And of course, Grace survives, and the story becomes a part of the show that June was watching at the beginning of the movie, which she now calls garbage. June still hasn't learned a thing because she still doesn't respond to her mom. No character development. Check. Javier got in contact with his son, and June is looking to study abroad because I'm guessing they're hoping to get greenlit for another sequel. Overall, I just think missing direction. I just didn't think it was very well put together, even though the acting was pretty good. I think everybody played their roles well, but the plot was just so convoluted, and the screen style just trivializes any tension that they tried to build. Most of the runtime relies on everybody lying to June, from Grace to Heather and even her dad when he tries to explain everything to her, so everybody is just equally irredeemable. They try to spin everything around for these gotcha moments, and they just don't land at all if you're paying any kind of attention. And at the end of the movie, we see watching a show about herself is more important than putting her mom's ease at worry despite everything that they have just gone through. Grace survives a point-blank gunshot wound, bleeding out for God knows how long in the middle of nowhere. We never addressed why Kevin and Heather were talking, and the pacing was just horrendous. They had way too many open ends to wrap up in like the last 15 minutes, and in my opinion, they just didn't get it done. Hope it was worth it watching me suffer through this. I just don't know why it was trending. If you do, please let me know in the comments. I could use some enlightenment. Appreciate you if you made it this far. Leave a like if you did, dislike if you didn't, but if you didn't, please let me know why in the comments so I can try to entertain y'all better. It's Prof. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Shoots.